Well, it's been a long time since I've done one of these cleaning tutorials, but I figured since the PlayStation 2 Slim video is doing so well, you might be interested in the PlayStation 3 Super Slim. So first thing we're going to do is flip this bad boy over, and you'll notice that it has the same kind of setup as the PlayStation 2 Fat, in that it has these little feet. I'm actually missing two of the feet right here and here, so you'll see those are gone, but I have one covered here. These two are fake. They do not have any kind of screws underneath them, but these other three do. And then of course you have the warranty seal here with a screw underneath. So we're gonna take those off, just a standard Phillips screw head. And then in order to pry this off, you just use a flat head to just get in and underneath, and that'll lift up easily. And again, it's just a Phillips. There you are. Now to get that off, you could either just go straight through it with your screwdriver, or you can do as I like to do to, remove the sticker intact. So that's what I'm going to do. And there you go. So it's as easy as that. Just makes for a much more cleaner look, I feel. Once you've taken off the 4 screws down here, you're going to flip this up on its side, because what you want to do is you want to take this off. And this is where the hard disk is, so I'm just going to put it up on its side like that. Adjust the camera here so you can see. So in order to take this off, what we need to do is push it to the right and then push it up. If you need to orient, it is the side where the disk drive is. So this is the cover that we want to take off. So just slide it to the right and then lift it up just like that. And you're going to see here, well, actually there's a couple of legs here that are broken, but you can see how it's got hooks there so that it goes in and it hooks down. That's what you want to take out. But with this, we'll just throw that in some soapy water over here. So just to show you, right there, just toss that right in. And next thing we're going to do is take out the hard disk. And as you can see here, it's just a standard Phillips screw. So we'll take that out with the same screwdriver. Now if you wanted to change hard disks, you can do that, and it's really easy. You just buy any computer disk, really. You just download the program. I might make a video on that, how to show you that, but in order to take this out, you just take this lever here and you pull that, and what that does is it kind of creates a little lever here that you can take your finger in and then just pull the hard disk drive right out. So we'll put that on the side. And then next thing we want to do is we want to take out these screws right here. This one, that, and no, that's a different model. I thought there was one here. So there's these 3 right here, especially this one, because that's going to be the next step here. But in order to take them out, you're actually going to need a T8 hex hollow. I don't know if you can even see that, but this is a hollow tip, because these screws have basically a little peg that's standing up in the middle, which is holding this down. So we're going to take these screws out, just like so. And then the others as well. Now that that's taken care of, we can focus our attention on the front here. Let me adjust the camera again. Okay, with those screws out, what we can do is now take the lid off. And what we need to do is lift this piece up and then pull the whole thing to the left this time. But we also need to loosen up the front edges here in order to set everything in motion. So we'll just lift this up here, and then I like just use the flat head again and just kind of go down into these areas here, and then just pop these front pieces up. And again, just be very careful when you do this, because it's super easy to pop something that you shouldn't be popping. So now that that is done and this piece here is loose, we can now slide the whole assembly to the left, and that should, there we go, make this come off. And again, just to show you here how this works, so let's see if we can show that here maybe. There we go. So you can see how the hooks are laid out, and those hooks goes into these holes, and then they slide in to these little cracks, and that's what holding the whole thing in place. That's why you need to slide the whole thing to the left and then up so that it comes out of here. But now that that's taken care of, we'll throw that in the water as well. And you can see here you have a couple of more screws holding the whole thing together. So again, just a Phillips screwdriver. There we are. Now that those screws are out, we can then go to the back cover. This is a lot easier. All you do is just slide it to the left, like so, and then just lift that straight up. There are no screws or anything holding this in place. It's just basically these little snap locks. So we'll throw that back in there, and then we've got one more screw right here, which again is another Phillips. So we take that off. Now that we've taken that, we can open up the cover, and you'll find two more screws here, and these are the hex screws. So we will take those out, and now with all of that out, we can then lift the whole thing up. So what you want to do is just kind of, well, basically just gently lift it up. There's going to be some little tension fasteners on the side here, so you just gently loosen those. And then same on the back here. There we go. And now that that's taken care of, this whole top piece comes straight up, and you have the whole mechanism right here. So you can see how intricate that area is. So for this, we're just gonna keep that as it is and just, you know, clean it basically as it is. I might make a tutorial on just this little area right here if that's something that people are interested in, but for this tutorial I think we'll focus on the main body itself, because as it is you can easily clean this, and there's no harmful areas in here, so we'll just put this whole thing right in the water, kind of loosen up any kind of grime. So this is the inside of your PlayStation 3 Super Slim. So obviously first thing you see is you have the disc reader here, you've got the fan right here, and of course hard drive is underneath the disc, and then you also got your power supply over here. So we're gonna take this further apart and just keep going into it. Okay, so next thing we want to do is take out the disc reader assembly right here. It's held together with 3 ribbon cords. So the first one, this little one right here, is simple enough. You just gently pull straight up and that's gonna take care of that. You've got the bigger cable right here, which, let's see if we can see it there. In order to get that off, what you do is, let me use this, it'll be a little easier for you to see. It's got a little holder down here. So what you want to do is you want to just take that and lift it up. Like so. And what that is going to do is release the connection. So now this is completely loose. So now it might be easier to see here. Actually, I'll show it once I've taken this out. Then you just lift this up and gently take this and pull it straight out as well. And then you got the disc assembly, which is actually 2 parts. So if you flip it over, this thing is going to fall out. You can see here that's connected with a ribbon cable as well. So we're just gonna leave that in there. There's no reason for us to mess with that, but we are going to give this a nice clean with the air vacuum. So now that that's taken away, you'll be able to see a little deeper in here. And this is the one I was talking about. So you can see here, if I push down, that's going to lock itself in place. So in order to loosen it, you just pull up on that, and yeah, that's going to release the ribbon cable. So anyways, now we get that out of the way, we can also take this little cable right here, which is for the power switch. So just take that out. And now you can see here that we're getting into the nitty-gritty. You got one screw over here, another one over here. You also got 2 right here that are holding these little braces. Those are actually sandwiched around the fan assembly. So you need to take all of those out at once. And then of course you also got these little connectors, one here, one there. So we'll just loosen all of that up. And now that we've taken off these 2 screws over here and loosen this cable, we can then take the power assembly off. And in order to do that, you just take right here, whip that up, so like that. That gives you leverage so that you can now just gently lift this whole thing up, and it's connected over here with a little socket, so you just want to gently put that up like so. And you can see here those 2 are connected to these pins right here, and that's what's causing it to be a little troublesome getting it up. So this is where the power connector is, and also a lot of the electronics for the power board. So this is going to get a nice dust cleaning, but for now we're just going to put that aside. And now you can see where these cables are going underneath, and they're actually connected right here. So now with the powerhouse gone, we can then take the rest of the circuitry out. In order to do that, we're going to have to take out a couple of screws. There's going to be one here, one over here, one right here, one in the corner here that's kind of hard to see, but right there. There is another one over here, and then you've got two screws, one there and one here. All of them are Phillips. So again, you just take those out. There we go. Now that that's out, you can take this whole assembly and just lift it straight out. Just be careful not to ruin any of the connectors over here. So just like that, and then pull it towards you, and that's going to be this whole thing out. And then of course, bottom tray, you just put that in the soapy water. And now you can see here that these connectors are now loose. If you want to take those off, you can do so. So for the sake of this, we're just going to do that. Just lift those up. And you can see here how these cords are just like wrapped around this whole base right here. And then it comes out over here. And these are just connectors, which means that you can actually pull them straight out. Just like so. So there you go. So you can put this aside. And then flip this whole thing over. You can see here two more screws. So we're going to take those off as well. And then you've got a couple of screws around the perimeter. So you got one here, there, here, here. So take those 4 screws out as well. There we go. And that just lifts straight off. Now for disassembly and cleaning purposes, this is pretty much as far down as you're going to get. The reason is that this whole board here is actually glued in place. So you'll see here that you can kind of, bend this a little bit, but where the CPU and the GPU are, those areas are actually stuck on to the fan in order to create the best kind of heat transfer. So I really wouldn't recommend going any further than this. You'll get good area here that you can get with your duster or Q-tip. You'll be able to do a lot of cleaning just from here. So there's really no reason to go any further than this. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to clean this whole thing, and we're going to use electric duster all over this, as well as the other electrical components. And then everything that's over in the soapy water, we're going to rinse that off and let it dry, and then put the whole thing back together again. Okay, so everything now has had time to dry, and we're going to be putting it back together again. The first thing we do is, of course, we want to take the heat shield and the motherboard and just flip this over. You can see here where it has these latches, which will go on here. So we'll just slide that on like that. And the latches actually go on the outside, but it's a nice little reference point to have there. Then we're going to screw in the screws. So we're going to start with this to screw that in place. And you can see that it has sort of a bend to it. And that's because it's going to give pressure to the, basically the heat sink and the CPU here is going to push on that. And that's going to help create better fit for the thermal paste. And then we'll do the outside. And Sony is really nice. They actually give you little indicators where you're supposed to be putting nails. Not nails, screws. Now that the screws are in place, we're going to be attaching these guys back, because it's a lot easier to do that now than to struggle with that later on. So we'll just flip this over, and then you want to take these and just line them out like so. And you can also very easily, if you lay them next to each other like this, you can very easily see which one goes on the left and which one goes on the right, because they're going to have the same bend in the cord itself. So this is just going to be put on top of here, and just sandwiched in there. And then we're going to take the little screw, one of the small black screws, and just screw that in place. And we're going to do the same for this side right here. So just get that cord out of the way. So there we go. And then another small black screw. And then we're going to feed the cords. So just pop these around these little perimeter here. So there's going to be one holder right there, and then that is going to go in this little holder right there. So both of these will go in right there. Like so. And then they're both going to go behind this one right here, where the other cord is, just like that. And then it's going to follow the same path as this little connector here, just like that. And we can actually attach that connector at this point. There we go. And then these are going to go down here, and they're going to be secured by this little holder, just like that. And then next holder is over here. Just wrap it around. And from here, we're actually going to go on the underside. So just right there. So you want to go over that little nub there, and then just slide it underneath these little holders here, and then do the same over here, just like that. There we go. And then the last holder is this one right here. Just put that there, and you can also see that it fits with how the bend is. And then last piece is to connect these to the two wire points here. So again, you can actually use the cord themselves to kind of tell you which one goes where. There we go. Finally, it's a little tricky to get on there, but there you go. With that done, we can then put it back into its housing. So we'll just orient it this way and then slide the connectors in first before we then pop the rest in like that. There we go. And now we can screw this into place. Now with the assembly back in the bottom case, we can then start to screw it in place. So we'll start by attaching this little connector right here for the fan. Just like that. And then we're going to be using the very small black screws. Now with those screws in place, we're going to take the 2 silver screws with the bevels on them. Those are going to go for this right here. And then we'll take the power assembly, just move these cords out of the way and then gently put it down so that this connector here is not going to bend the pins. So we'll put that in its place and then just push it straight down. And then take the 2 silver screws and put 1 screw over on that side, right there, and the other one's going to go over here. And with that screw in place, we can then take this cord and just put it behind those little pegs there. That's going to hold that in place, and we can then connect it right over here. Just like that. Next up is the power switch. You can see here it's got a little indentation that's going to connect to a little plate right there. So that's just going to go straight in, and then it's going to secure itself. And then connect the ribbon cable, like so. And then we've got the disc reader, and in order to connect this, the first thing we want to do is connect this ribbon cable. It makes it a lot easier. So we'll just flip this out and just be careful not to make any tears or pull this ribbon cable off. Just put that there for the time being, so we can slide this in right here. Just push that all the way in, and then we can align that with the tray. And you can see these little feet here. Those are going to be nesting on top of some screw points inside this tray. So then we take this tray and nest it with these pegs here with these feet. So the whole thing is going to just nicely come together like so. And then we'll take the big ribbon, and if you remember from earlier, pull on this a little up so it loosens it up. And then just slide this straight in, and it's going to go in without any problems. And then you just push down on the connector, which is then going to lock this one in place. Now we take the shorter ribbon cable, put that in its socket as well, just like that. There you go. So not really too much to it. We follow that up with the top lid. That's just going to go on top and just kind of snap in place. Just like that. And then it's going to be secured by the longer silver screws. So there's going to be 4 in the front, and then the last one is going to go in the top back corner right here. Next is to put these on, and while they look identical from the top, they're very unique from the bottom. So you'll see one has a straight connector row right here, whereas the other one has kind of like a split ridges. There's going to be multiple lines, and there's also connectors on the other side. And the simpler one is the back, and the more advanced one is the front. The front will also have this little, well, let's call it a blade almost, like a little wing, and that's going to be the screw point right there. So we'll just take the back one first, that's easier, and you can see here it's got these little feet which will slide in and lock itself into these little connectors right here. So we'll just pop it in and then slide it across. So just pop it in like so, and then just slide it until it locks in place. Now for the front piece, you want to again align the holes right here, but you're only doing the 3 first ones. So you just align those like so, and then slide those in and push everything else down, and that is going to secure that piece on the front, which you will then secure with a little screw at the end right here, and that's one of the hex screws. So just like that. You can also see there are 2 more hex screws right there, so we'll put those in while we're over on this end. There we go. And then the 2 last hex screws are going to be holding the disc assembly in place right here. Then we'll put in the hard disk, and that just slides right in. And then that is being held in place with this blue screw right here. And we'll take the side plate, and it's really easy since it's actually labeled which way is the front. So that is going to go in like so, and then just slide towards you just like that, and that's going to lock that in place. The last thing we need to do is put the 4 screws in from the back, and then put on the rubber feet. In my case it's only 1 foot, so there we go. And then of course we can't forget the warranty sticker. So put that back on, and then give the whole thing a wipe down of Pledge Orange Clean, which will give it a nice shine, but also protect it from future dust. And there we go, that's one cleaned up PlayStation 3 Super Slim. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and thank you so much for watching.